Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. Today we are going to be doing my April TBR and wearing my Spring Flingaween shirt because that is also this month. I'm also participating in the magical Readathon that is being hosted by G, which has already started. So let's get into the book I plan to read for that. Let's tackle the magical Readathon since that starts at the beginning of the month. And this is a Readathon that is hosted by G from Book Roast. She has created this amazing magical world, and it is the spring equinox semester. So for this, you are going to be going for your calling, which is kind of like a job. And since I'm stuck between two, which is the Spell Sword and the Mage Hunter, I'm going to be trying to tackle two callings. So the courses that are required for being a spell sword, which is kind of like an adventurer, include animal studies, demonology, restoration, and spells and incantations. And then the courses set for Mage Hunter for the spring equinox, which Mage Hunters are kind of like the magical police. These include elemental studies, spells and incantations, conjuring, and restoration. So each calling calls for 4 classes, and some of the classes overlap. So we'll start with Spell Sword. Spell Sword, one of the requirements is animal studies. The course focus for animal studies is Ways of a Pegasus, and their prompt for that is a quick read. So the quick read I chose for this is a cozy mystery that I'm currently reading on my Kindle, and it is the second book in the cozy mystery. So the title of the book is A Familiar Curse by Rosemary A. Johns. This is part of the Oxford Magical Kitten Mysteries or something like that, and this follows a witch who, while she doesn't have a lot of powers, her demon familiar named Satan does have her powers, and both of them are trying to protect the other from being discovered that they have too much power or not enough power. And the witch is also running a familiars rescue where she is trying to have these familiars choose their owner, which I think is such a cute idea, where the familiar actually chooses who they wish to take care of them and spend their life with. So this is a very cute, cozy mystery. It also includes a romance with a silver dragon shifter. So loving it. So that is to be my quick read because those are really quick. They're less than 150 pages each. So that's my quick read. The next course for Spell Sword is Demonology. And Demonology, the course focus is Shadow Demons. Yes, Shadow Demons. And for this, it is the word shadow in the title. So for this, I'm going to continue my read of Shadow of Night by Deborah Harkness. This is the second book in the All Souls trilogy, which starts with A Discovery of Witches. Discovery of Witches was my favorite read from last year, so I definitely loved it. Well, not my favorite read. It was one of my favorite rereads from last year because I read it the year before for the first time and I reread it last year. But Shadow of Night is the sequel, and the series follows Diana Bishop and Matthew Claremont. Diana is a witch, and she was studying in the Bodleian when she was able to call a mysterious Ashmole manuscript from the stacks that had been missing for thousands of years. And that started a whole bunch of events. So this is obviously the sequel. There's very little I can tell you about this book in particular because there are a lot of spoilers for the first book, but so far this one I am on chapter 15, which is page 227 and is also part 3. So I'm probably a third of the way through this book, but I will be tackling this on audio and reading it along physically because I love that. There's a lot of accurate historical information in these books, because Diana Harkness is also a historian, so her information is accurate and it is just very, very interesting. But it's also a little dense, so I want to be able to read along as I go through it. The next course is Restorations, which is Cure Wounds and is a book featuring a healer. So for this one, I chose to pick up The Prison Healer by Lynette Noni. I don't know much about this, but I do know it has to do with a girl who is a healer, obviously, and she is in prison, and she's charged by her family to protect, I believe it's a princess or a queen, and she has to protect them until they can come and break them out. So I believe there are also trials that she has to face in order to gain her freedom and the freedom of this queen or princess that she is charged to protect. So it sounds really interesting. It says on the back, "Don't let her die. We are coming." So this is the Gorgeous Fairy Loot edition, but I'm gonna pick this up on my Kindle as an ebook because I don't want to break the spine on this one. But this is my book for Restoration, which is also a requirement for Mage Hunter. The final requirement for Spell Swords is Spells and Incantations, and that is again another one shared by Mage Hunter. So this one is an anti-gravity spell, and it's short stories or essays. So for this one, I chose Dear Girls by Ali Wong. This is a book of letters to her daughters talking about her life and other things she feels they need to know. And Ali Wong is a comedian. She's very funny. I first saw her in her like Snake Mama, Python Mom or some White the Mother or something special, and it was so funny. It was on Netflix and I loved it, so I decided to pick up this book, which is a letter to her two daughters about her life, and it's very funny and she gets very in-depth about what happened, and I loved it. I started it, I just have to finish it. So that is what I chose for Spells and Incantations. Then we move on to Mage Hunter, which there are only 2 more books for this one, and that includes Elemental Studies, which is Basics of Air Dynamics, and then the prompt is a book under 100 pages. So for this one, I chose a reread, which is Fangs by Sarah Anderson. I love Sarah Anderson. She is an amazing graphic artist. She's an amazing artist. And I read this maybe 2 years ago, so I decided to pick it up. This book is about a relationship between a werewolf and a vampire, and it is exactly 100 pages. So this is the perfect book for this prompt, and I'm so excited to pick it up again. The final book for my Magical Readathon TBR is for the class of Conjuration. Yep, Conjuration. The focus is Conjuring of Light, so the prompt is a source of light on the cover. And for this one, I have chosen A Curious Beginning by Diana Rayborn. This is the first book in the Veronica Speedwell series Mysteries, and follows Veronica Speedwell, who studies butterflies, and as her aunt has just passed away, she has an attempted kidnapping thwarted by a gentleman who's trying to help her, and so he takes her to his friend Speedwell, who is another science-inclined mind, and they discover that the gentleman has unfortunately mysteriously been killed, so they set out to solve that mystery. This is, again, like I said, part of a series, so that's only the plot for this book. I do have the entire series because I've heard such amazing things about it, so I definitely want to pick this up. I have started this, I just have to finish it. I'm on chapter 3, which is page 18. It's very good so far. I just have gotten distracted and haven't gotten back to it. So that is it for my Magical Readathon TBR. Now let's move on to the Spring Flingween TBR. The Spring Flingween Readathon, hosted by Gabby Reads and Olivia Reads a Latte, is set to start on April 27th and go through the 30th. There are 3 prompts for this. So the first prompt is read a book with pink or yellow on the cover. Now for this prompt, I chose to continue reading Bunny by Mona Awad. I have heard such great things, and I started it, I want to say for, what did I start it for? It was either Camp Weekend Ween or Winter Ween. I started it, did not finish it. I was just not getting as into it as I wanted to. I think I had really high hopes, and I just have to lower those a little. But I've also heard you have to get to at least part 2 before all the action happens, and just kind of just building and confusing me at this point. But I am on page 98, so I definitely do want to continue this. This follows Samantha, who is in an MFA program with these other women that are in this clique, and they call each other bunnies. Everybody is a bunny. It's hello bunny, how are you doing bunny, I love you bunny, everything. So this sounds so good, and I really want to love it. A lot of my favorite booktubers love this book. Chloe from Books with Chloe loves it. Katie Colson from Katie Colson loves it. So many people love this book, and I want to love it too. So I look forward to getting further into this and loving the bunnies too. The second prompt for Spring Flingween is read a backlist thriller or horror book, and for this I chose Anna Dressed in Blood by Kendara Blake. This follows Cass, I believe his name is, and he hunts dead things. So he and his mother travel around the world searching for these instances where people are under attack from ghosts, goblins, ghouls, whatever. And they enter this town where everybody talks about this ghost named Anna Dressed in Blood. She haunts her Victorian mansion wearing what she died in, a white dress that is now drenched in blood. And she kills everyone who enters her house except for Cass. So this just sounds great. I just recently read a book by Kendara Blake. I read In Every Generation and loved it, so I definitely do want to pick this up. It is definitely a backlist, and I'm really interested. And then the final theme is a food theme, which we all love. It is make a fall themed drink or pastry to bring Halloween to spring. So this one I will probably make a pumpkin spice latte or something like that. That's really what I plan to do. So the last 3 books on my TBR are the ones I picked from my physical TBR jar. I did film it, but I lost the footage. So I still have the little papers here. One of the first ones I picked was A Question of Homes by Brittany Caballero. Now this is like the 3rd or 4th book in the Charlotte Holmes series, and I have not finished the first one. So instead of picking up this one, I'm going to pick up the first one, which is A Study in Charlotte by Brittany Caballero. This follows Charlotte Holmes and Jamie Watson, who are the great whatever grades grandchildren of Sherlock Holmes and Dr. Watson. Jamie comes to the school that Charlotte is at, and she originally wants nothing to do with him until there is a mysterious murder that is linked between the two, and they are the lead suspects. So they join forces to prove their innocence. There's also a romance, I believe, between Jamie and Charlotte, so very much look forward to picking this one up. Again, this is another one that I have started but have not finished. I am about 70 pages in, and from what I remember, I was enjoying myself, but it just fell to the wayside. Other books became more important, and I just never finished it. The next book I chose was Well Met by Jen DeLuca. This is another book that I've started but have not finished. This is a Renaissance romance following Emily, who joins Readathons to watch her niece because her sister is too ill to chaperone her niece while she is part of the Renaissance fair. And while she is there, she has a run-in with Simon, whose family runs the Renaissance fair every year, and there's kind of a haters to lovers romance type thing going on. So I do know this is part of a kind of theme surrounding the Renaissance fair. I don't know that there is a name for it. I really think it's like Well Met 1, Well Met 2, whatever. But the next book in it is Well Played, and I really do want to pick this up because I've heard great things. The final book I chose was The Library of Lost Things by Laura Taylor Namey. And this one, I don't know anything about. I picked it up because I believe it was, I don't even know. I think the tagline grabbed me. It was compared between two movies, I think, that I loved. And all I really know is there's a girl, there's books, and there's a romance. But, so the back says, how could I open that door and let him see the messiest part of me? Darcy Wells has spent her whole life keeping people out of her life, out of her heart, and especially out of the cramped apartment she shares with her hoarder mother. But when the delicate balance of her world is threatened, Darcy is finally forced to look up from the pages of the books she loves and accept that finding her happily ever after means she needs to stop hiding and start living her own story, even if it's messy. So this is very much a contemporary romance. Very much look forward to it. The friend says she'll read 1,000 happy endings before she finds her own. So this leads me to believe Darcy is very much an introvert. She has trouble connecting to people, and she finds herself most comfortable with her nose stuck in a book. So being able to relate to that, definitely want to pick this up. And the final book on my TBR is the pick for this month's read for Chloe's Patreon, and that is All's Well by Mona Awad, the author that also wrote Bunny. And this is very similar to Bunny, I believe, in the fact that it's also kind of like a horror thriller type book, and it follows a professor who runs the art program, the theater program at a college, and she wants to put on All's Well That Ends Well by Shakespeare, but instead the other kids want to put off, I think it's Hamlet or something, Macbeth. They want to do Macbeth. So she's dealing with that. She also suffers from chronic pain and not being able to solve that issue. When these men benefactors come out and say they can help her put on the show she wants to put on. So I'm sure there's twists and turns in this. There's twists and turns in everything that Mona Awad writes, I'm sure. But this is another book that's on my TBR. So there's a lot of books. This is a large TBR, and I'm really looking forward to getting to it. I'm definitely going to try and get my magical TBR books done. And I also have a secret TBR for a video that I am doing that I also have to read this month, but the month has just started. I very much feel like this is pretty doable because these books aren't massively long or anything, and I do think I can get through them and read them. These are the books for my TBR, including the few ebooks that I have chosen to read. So here they are. So let me know down in the comments if you guys are participating in Spring Flingoween or in the Magical Readathon. I would love to hear from you and to hear what you've chosen as your calling or what books you're going to read for the prompts. So I will see you down in the comments below. I hope you have a great day or night wherever you are, and don't forget to pick up a good book. Bye.